So today I thought I'd show you a little bit about how I paint these Santas. And I've got a million that are waiting to paint, but I thought I'd just kind of line up a few because there's nothing worse than painting through like 5 or 10 of these and just driving yourself crazy because you don't feel like you're making any progress. So I usually just pick out 3, and I like these square tip brushes. This one's pretty well worn, but I just happen to like all of these square tip brushes because you can angle them and pretty much get in any place that you need to paint. You can see it's really a slow job. Okay, so I've got that done on all the cuffs. And by the way, I was using a Ceramicoat Ivory color for that. So the next thing I want to do is down here where it says Christmas Pear. I'm going to use celery green and back paint that. And then I'm going to come through a little bit later and do gold, like a gold brush on the lettering. So I've got a little bit of a wider brush, and as you can see, I'm just kind of filling in like that, just kind of brushing it into all of these areas. Okay, and while I had the celery green, I went ahead and did the base of that. So for the gold, I'm using a metallic gold, and just carefully brushing the top like that. What I'm trying to do is not get too much in any one place so that it drips around, sort of a dry brush. Okay, so that'll stand out really nice when I go to stain it, and I'll show you how I stain it. Okay, after blocking everything in, and I used Rookwood Red. Once I blocked it in with this brush, I'm going to go back and just kind of paint all of this with a bigger brush. This is going to be black, so I can just paint right over it. Okay, this is what they look like at the moment. I've got a little bit of black paint here. I'm going to thin it down with just a couple of drops, or maybe just that one drop. I think will be enough. And I'm going to use this brush to do the lettering. The reason for watering it down is just so I can get that paint to flow right off the tip of the brush. Got a few spots that I want to touch up. Okay, on this I used a honey brown, and for the pear I used a yellow ochre with a little dry brush of celery green. Just like that. And while I had the yellow ochre, I did those gloves, and I did this in a celery green. So the next step is to use the flesh tint to do the face. Okay, so that's how they turned out. Pretty good. So the next step is to take some Napa Red, which is right here, and just mix a little bit with what's left of that flesh tint. About like that. So what I want to do is take a little bit of this kind of wipe off the excess and just dry brush. Right in here. next step is to use a brush that's very small and thin. Just wet it down a little bit. And then titanium white for the eyes. Okay, now for the center of the eyes, I'm going to use that same brush, dip it in a little bit of water, wipe it off, and I've got the black paint all set to go. So this is just to give you an idea of how I did this detail on the cuffs right here. I've got this tool, and it says, I can't even read it. I've had it so long. Kemper Tools. And all these little details right here, these flourishes. What I've done to create those is I just take a little bit of this paint, and you just go like that. Makes really nice flourishes. And you can use different backgrounds, different colors. You've got two different tips. Once that color is dried, and by the way, I used Hauser Medium Green. So once that's dried, I've got Canyon Orange. And I'm just going to embellish this a little bit. These berries are the same color as bittersweet vine, so you can say that these are bittersweet vines. And there's two types of bittersweet. There's the American variety and the Chinese. You can say that this is the American bittersweet. I didn't know it, but I guess the Chinese bittersweet is a little bit more invasive. Okay, for the center of the eyes, I'm using this cerulean blue and a drop of titanium white. What I want to do is just incorporate until I get to about that color. Use that trusty, very narrow brush. This is a Master's Touch 20/0 round. What that means, I'm not sure. Sometimes it helps to flip them around. Okay, we're going to let that dry, and then we'll drop a dot right in the center for the pupil. Now it's time to put the dot, the pupil in. Okay, the next step is I've got this little container. I'm going to dilute this black just about like that. And I'll just mix it up. That's actually a little bit more than I wanted, so I'm going to pull some of the water back out. About to that consistency. Looking for about 50-50. Mix that up. Get a little bit of that. That's the Santa, and I just fixed his eye. So then you're just going to trace, outline. Not a real heavy wet brush, just dab it off. Like that. You can follow the beard. Just another detail that really makes the Santa stand out. Dab it off, you don't want it too heavy. Just come in here, very carefully follow the outline. And I want to follow that line. Under the arm. Into the back. And I also want to get down in here. So I'm going to continue with this throughout all three Santas, and I think we'll be ready to stain. Okay, so I've got that done. I used that really thin brush to outline everything down here along the edge, in the box, underneath the lid, and the sides of the box. So the next step is I've got some of this satin polyurethane. And you can get this at any big box store. You don't have to get this from Hobby Lobby like this. What I do is I just keep pouring it into here, but it's a polyurethane varnish that is interior, exterior. It blocks UV rays so the paint won't fade, and just really good protector. So before I stain, what I'd like to do is just kind of brush this beard. A little bit of a tip. So you want the beard to stay white. So by putting this polyurethane on right now, it will prevent the white from fading too much. Okay, so now that the polyurethane is dried, what I've done is I've taken raw umber, and I've mixed it 50-50 with water, and we're going to see how that looks. That's a little bit more than I'd like, so I'm going to probably go This would be about 70-30. So we'll try 70-30, and I think that's about, yeah, that's much better. So I'm just painting. Look at all that. It looks like it's ruined, doesn't it? Kind of worked pretty quick. And then I take my old nasty rag, just wipe it off like that. Nice little antiquing. And just kind of continue that all the way down like this. Pretty much hitting everything. Like this. Back to the nasty rag. Wipe it all off. Pretty good. Picks it all up in the beard. Very nice. So the last step is to just take some of that polyurethane, dab it in a little, dab your brush in the polyurethane, and you just kind of work this in. You do have to be careful because you can see right here it tries to gather. So you do have to be aware of that, but besides that, it's a pretty straightforward process. It really makes the carving come to life. All that color and texture really pops. You can see that red as I'm coating it just comes to life. And you just want to keep doing that, obviously, until you've got it all done. I usually work down to this lower part, and then when it dries, then I can handle it and flip it over upside down and get the rest. But that is the idea. And you can put one coat. I've usually found that one coat is pretty sufficient, but you could do two if you wanted. And again, this is a water-based polyurethane satin. Okay, so these are all complete. The only thing I have to do is sign it, and turned out pretty good. I can see a little spot here. I don't know if you can see it right here, but I've got to hit that again with a little bit more of that polyurethane. Looks a little dry. So I've got to do that yet. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. Turned out pretty good. These seem to be pretty popular as well with the banners on them. All set for Christmas. Thanks for watching, folks. Hopefully you got some good tips.